Quick announcement, I'm partnering with GamerSups. If you want to try out some tasty energy drink flavors, you can get some
I'm glad that
free
JoeCat is
samples,
getting
and they
these
even ship worldwide.
sponsorships.
If you'd like it and
He's
want
earned
more,
it.
use the code JOECAT for 10% off. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of being counted on to do complex tasks that involve more than it takes to eat a bowl of mushy cereal. In
freaking
fact,
love
I
this
don't even
suit.
feel motivated to hear what my allies need of me. I'm just gonna sit all the way over here, enjoying my Lucky Charms. Alone.
Okay, this is actually something that I have quite a bit of experience with when it comes to World of Warcraft, I suppose, because this is how I fell in love with Warlock, specifically Destruction Warlock, and I guess with Mythic raiding, which is what I've mainly been doing with Warlock, you do obviously have to follow all the mechanics, and there are mechanics that affect melee and ranged, but in some I guess more, less, I guess, high end environment. The change from Feral Druid to Destruction Warlock has been really welcome because I felt like distance from the conflict, and I think that in not as a high end environment, I guess in a more casual environment, it's easier to play as ranged because you just get like better overview of what's going on. And I guess in Final Fantasy 14, for me, the equivalents of those are Paladin, which is what I main, and I guess Red Mage, which is the range DPS of choice for me. I have a question. Yeah, still, yeah, feel free to ask. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit if it's too quiet.
And if things go wrong, I'll have to rely on the ever-reliable American method. I already see absolutely no negative consequence.
Wait, what's the American method? What does this mean? Druid was that bad in WoW? It wasn't bad per se, but it was, I think, in my opinion, a little bit more difficult to play with less reward. When it comes to at least Feral Druid. Feral Druid was not an easy spec to play. It's a melee spec, and normally, whenever I would queue into a group as a druid, they would ask me if I'm playing a boomkin, which would be the equivalent of the range DPS, or melee, which is the feral druid. Whenever I would say that I play a feral druid, I would get automatically kicked out of kicked out of the party without ever being a part of like a dungeon group or a raid group. So for feral druids, things have been tough, and I think I was pretty good at feral druid, but unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with it when it comes to high end content because I never got to raid mythic with it. The macro is GUN. Oh, I see.
Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy.
This is awesome.
I'm sick of having to dodge so many up-close AoEs. The boss keeps doing them, and I have to keep moving away to avoid getting splatted. And then I have to resort to the equivalent of throwing marshmallows that will scratch the enemy about as hard as a massage therapist with germophobia. I'm trying to beat them into submission, not soften their tenders. What's that I hear you say? There's an option to give me the ability to do max deeps even when I'm disconnected from the boss like an...
Like, for a beginner, this is a very, very comforting thought to know that you're gonna skip like half of the mechanics that happen like right in front of the boss, whether it's like conal damage or something like that. Unless you're playing, I guess, Black Mage, where you are, I don't know, tricked by its simplicity in the first like 20 levels or so, and then you realize that you're just dying because you're either doing damage or dying.
An internet provider out in the country? Of course there is. I was just getting to it, and I'll thank you not to interrupt me again. The physical range DPS, or just range...
Wait, what if stab but far away? Mandatory fancy hat, true. Mandatory legs, speed, support in disguise, coolest LB animations, don't add me. That's true. That's actually very true, and it feels bad to admit this as a pally main, but he's right when it comes to this.
Range for sure. Physically throwing my spleen into the splattering range of the near semi for long is the more mobile and forgiving cousin of the melee, and is the most important person in the party since you are the least likely to get a commission. And we thank you for providing such a valiant service, as there always needs to be someone in last place. Your role is all about keeping your uptime going, and although yes, every other role is also about trying to do that, you have absolutely no excuse for messing up. The gimmick of the range DPS is that you don't have to...
Okay, that's true, and this is why I started to hate raiding in, I guess, I hate raiding with range DPS in World of Warcraft, and I never even gave it a shot in the Final Fantasy 14, is because you absolutely cannot suck at doing damage no matter what, and you still at like high-end gameplay have mechanics to avoid. So as a tank, I have, I guess, this hot take that playing tank is even easier than just doing consistently high damage, because there are very few things that you can actually actively mess up. Sometimes you can wipe the group if you lose the aggro, or if you turn the boss around wrong, but that's something that you learn how to do and you just do it every single time. Whereas in well, it kind of just becomes your muscle memory, I suppose. Whereas like as a ranged DPS, you have to be present at every single pool and just do your absolute best without relying on your muscle memory, but just being always just having the same amount of focus, I suppose. Yeah, they have to be flashy, true.
To worry about any positionals or cast times and can run around the arena like an indecisive artist in a Hobby Lobby. You get to stay at a safe distance, and if there's ever a pissy puddle underneath your feet, moving out of the way won't risk you doing suboptimal damage. So what's the catch? Nobody gets off scot-free in this game, as all roles have their stonks and stinks. Tanks have the responsibility of dancing with the boss, healers have to share gear models with the magic DPS that die white, and you will have to suffer the nail-pulling drawback known as the range tax. To balance for the fact that you have nearly no limitations on your mobility, your damage will be on average slightly less than both the melee and magic DPS jobs. And hell, sometimes even some tanks with their openers that'll put down bosses faster than PETA when it finds a stray. The range tax, although real, will make a tiny droplet of difference in the grand scheme of things, and if you pick a range job and feel as though you're being outdone by your peers, odds are you're probably doing bad anyway, and the reason you have trouble jumping over that hurdle is just because your toes were too big and floppy that you would have tripped over every single one so badly anyway. Discover each.
Okay, I guess now for the first time I actually understand why Dancer does, well, not a lot of damage. So remember, you trashing Desert the easiest because RNG. Well, yeah, I mean, I did trash it because I was under the impression that it was easy to play and didn't really, I don't know, feel as rewarding. But then I realized that it can be both difficult and very fun. So the more I played it, the less I trashed it, and now I like it.
Channel would decide to make a show about whether or not you're real. Let me summarize. If you do bad, it's a skill issue. Nevertheless, the same rules as any role applies in the fact that you should stay out of the piss puddles wherever possible. Even more so, considering you're wearing Heelys and by all rights should be able to avoid any and every possible puddle and be the nicest smelling at the party, which is important because the healers only have so much nasal tolerance. Lucky for you, each range also has a bottle of perfume to spray that will at least mask the piss smell a bit. The final shared utility in the belt of the Black Man is the Limit Break, which although does not do as much single target damage as the melee, has the benefit of being able to hit multiple targets in a line like a really violent high-five surfer. The range roster is a trio of performers, each one skilled in a different charismatic art, and each one a different flavor of slutty. First is the Bard, where your bow is your harp. Also, your harp is your harp.
I love how I read the word hussy and I instantly hear the voice of the Black Grimoire from not Black Grimoire, oh my god, from Vice, from Nier.
Because with this job you get a bunch of instruments you can play, including these obnoxiously loud drums. You are one of the few jobs with the endangered species known as the damage over time skill, and your main attack involves firing a single arrow repeatedly until a bigger, cooler arrow gets jealous and sometimes asks to be fired too. But not all the time, because it's not like it likes to be shot or anything. You also have a bunch of songs to play that will make everyone in the party hear a remix of their opening theme. And everybody knows when the opening kicks on, you deal more damage.
Yeah, I wish we had Vice Minion. I actually don't know why we don't, and when I was playing Automata, after playing Nier Replicant, I got so excited over the fact that you can turn your little pod into Vice, but then got really sad when I realized that this Vice doesn't speak the way I want it to speak.
Because you're the one playing them, you also get your own special benefits, you filthy, dirty foreigner. A song that sometimes lets you shoot more arrows when it feels like giving you some, a song that makes you shoot faster, and a song that lets you shoot more arrows when it feels like giving you some, but a little bit different. All this arpeggios to a crescendo into a grand finale where you fire a big ol' arrow. And if you've played all your songs, you have the ability to face roll your piano and startle your party into doing even more damage. I said hit harder! Now hold on.
Oh god.
Masaka. For the Machinist's main attack, it uses a gun. The most selfish of the ranged classes, where the name of the game is and the name is labeled on a box called Your Doom being shipped to the enemy at terminal velocity. What you sacrifice in party buffs you make up for in big having 3 giant bullets and a bunch of smaller, higher frequency bullets. Doing your normal 1, 2, 3 will get your gun very hot and bothered until it's riled up enough to rapid fire its red hot goodness. And if you make sure to toss your special toy—
Like, I completely understand why these videos take so much time to be made, but they are so good. I just want more of them.
into the mix, it can end in an explosive finish. Keep up that momentum, and eventually you can even invite your queen to join in the fun. Hey, I hear she's got multiple frequency settings. All this might make you feel like you're not contributing as much, but no need to be
Amazing.
nervous. Lucky for you, this job comes with extra protection. But you are not some simpleton who can be won over by some flashy lights and pretty songs. You want passion, romance, a partner who can live up to your standards. The dancer foregoes buffing the entire party or focusing on doing its own damage and instead picks one party member, one extra special, extra spicy, extra sexy partner in crime to give a super buff in damage in the form of 2 extra flashy minigames of Simon.
Normally, any person that you queue into a party with when you're doing random dungeons, regardless of who they are. I love that.
Says, and then you do a little bit of lending and sending the bodies flying. They're dying to birdies that give them birdies. And afterwards, it's just a matter of praying to RNGesus to bless your twinkle toes, because from there it's all coin flips all the time. Your rotation is a 1 and a 2 that can coin flip into a 3 and a 4, and both of those can coin flip into either a single target or AoE 5, which itself is a coin flip into a possible 6. Then once you're in rhythm, your spin knees will kill them, then dance in the wind like that million ribbons.
Wow.
And kicking and flipping their carrions into your allies so they can annihilate all that's left. Yay, now they're dead. And now you know how to play ranged. You're
That's
welcome.
crazy. That was honestly, that was so good. I expected no less, but this was amazing. If you're not subscribed to JoeCat, you absolutely should be, because these videos are awesome. JoeCat also makes like Dungeons and Dragons content and other games guides like this. So if you happen to be variety, which you might be since we're watching here on this channel, yeah, go subscribe to him.